The lock clicked open to a room that wasn't mine, and I knew in that moment my own family had declared war on my future. That email from my mom hit my inbox like a silent alarm shattering my quiet life. But to understand the bomb that went off, I need to take you back 7 years. My world back then was built around Sunday dinners at my parents' house in the suburbs, the smell of my dad's grill, the sound of my mom's classic rock playlist. I was the dependable daughter, always showing up with a pie, keeping my struggles to myself. I'd just crossed a finish line I'd been running toward for years. $130,000 saved for a down payment on my own place. Every missed concert with friends, every side hustle, every time I brown bagged my lunch instead of eating out. That was another brick in the foundation. It was my ticket to something solid, something that proved I wasn't just floating through life. Then my brother Jake showed up with his latest sure thing scheme. The energy in the room shifted instantly. He had that look, the one he got right before every other venture that flamed out spectacularly. My parents looked at him like he'd just unveiled a masterpiece. "Jake has a groundbreaking concept," my dad announced, chest puffed up. "All he needs is a little startup capital to make it real." Slowly, all 3 pairs of eyes turned and landed on me. A cold dread settled in my gut. "Why is everyone looking at me?" I asked, my voice suddenly too small. Jake leaned in, using that persuasive buddy-buddy tone he saved for asking for favors. "Chloe, we know about your savings account. It's the exact amount I need to launch. This one's a home run." The dinner plate in my hand felt unsteady. "No," I said, the word flat and absolute. "That's my house fund. I'm not investing it." The warmth drained from the room. My mom's smile disappeared. "Don't be so stingy," Jake muttered, his friendly facade crumbling. My dad's voice dropped to that low, disappointed register that always made my stomach drop. "You either help your family when they need you, or you can consider yourself not part of this family anymore." The ultimatum hung there sharp and absolute. Sometimes the first people to demand your surrender are the ones who are supposed to be on your side. I stood up, my legs shaky. My eyes caught on the spare house key hanging on a hook by the mudroom, a tiny symbol of belonging that now felt like a trap. "You've all made yourselves perfectly clear," I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. And then I walked out. I drove home through the dark, streetlights blurring through tears I was determined not to shed. I cut ties, changed my number. I built a new life from the ground up, piece by lonely piece. I bought a condo in a city a few hours away. It was my fortress, my proof I'd made it. But I kept that stupid key, a cold, brass reminder. So when my mom's email landed 7 years later with the subject line, "Family Emergency," my fingers went cold. The cursor blinked at me for hours. My best friend Sarah warned me over the phone. "They haven't changed, Chloe. Do not walk back into that fire." But a naive, hopeful part of me whispered, "What if it's real this time? What if Dad's sick?" My hands typed a reply almost on their own. "I'll be there Saturday." The drive back to my hometown felt like rewinding a tape. When I pulled into their driveway, the first thing I saw wasn't my family, but 2 shiny new luxury SUVs, a Range Rover and a Cadillac Escalade, glinting in the sun like trophies. So much for a financial disaster. My mom answered the door, and she looked tired, older. The house felt smaller somehow. Jake was on the couch, head in his hands. "He's in a bad way," my dad started, not looking at me. "Serious trouble. He owes money to some people. A lot of money." The number they said next made the air leave the room. $180,000. "And these guys he borrowed from, they aren't the patient type," Jake added, his voice shaking with a convincing fear. A heavy silence filled the space before my mom shattered it with a sob. "You have that beautiful condo, Chloe. If you sold it now, in this market, you could clear his debt. You could save your brother." The audacity of it was a physical punch to the chest. I actually laughed, a harsh, empty sound. "You want me to sell my home? The one I worked for?" "You're young, you can start over," my mom pleaded, wringing her hands. "He can't. They'll destroy him." The old loaded phrase came back, weaponized again. "Family helps family. Blood is everything," my dad intoned like it was scripture. I stood up, feeling the ghost of that night 7 years ago rise up, giving me a cold strength. "You told me I wasn't family," I said, my voice steady now. "You don't get to rewrite history now that it's convenient." As I reached for the front door, Jake spat out behind me, "You're making a huge mistake." "These are dangerous people." I turned and looked at him, my gaze steady. "So am I said, and I left. For a week there was only silence. I almost let myself believe it was over. Then, on a Tuesday morning, my doorbell rang. They were on my doorstep. They'd hired someone to find my address. They walked right into my home, my sanctuary, as if they still owned the deed. "This is a lot of house for one person," my dad remarked, his eyes critically scanning my living room. "You could downsize? Use the equity to help your brother get back on his feet." I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over the keypad. "You need to leave right now or I'm calling the police." My mom let out a wail. "If something happens to him, it will be on your conscience forever." They left, but the violation lingered. The walls of my safe space suddenly felt thin. Sarah and my boyfriend David were firm. "They won't stop, Chloe. They see your success, your home, as the solution to every problem Jake creates. It's a target." The unthinkable became the only sane option. To protect myself, I had to remove the target. With a heart full of grief but also a fierce resolve, I listed my condo. I sold it fast, for a bit under value, but the sale came with a deep, liberating relief. David and I packed my life into boxes. As we drove away to a new state, the skyline shrinking behind us, I felt lighter. The brass key was in my pocket, no longer a symbol of their lock, but a trophy of my escape. I thought that was finally the end. I was wrong. 2 months into our new life, a detective called. My parents had been arrested for breaking and entering, for felony vandalism. The address? My old condo. The new owner, a young doctor, had come home to find them inside, screaming my name, smashing his new furniture with a baseball bat. They'd spray-painted the word traitor in huge black letters across the living room wall. They thought it was still mine. In their twisted mission to punish me, they'd destroyed a stranger's home. The detective's voice was calm, professional. They stated they were sending you a message you wouldn't forget. The damages were in the tens of thousands. The final, brutal layers of irony unfolded. To avoid jail time, my parents sold their own house to pay restitution to the man whose home they'd trashed. And the leftover money? They gave it to Jake, to pay down his dangerous debt. Then Sarah, who has a friend in finance, did some digging. Those dangerous guys Jake was so scared of? They were a legitimate, if aggressive, private lending firm. There were no mobsters, no physical threats, just lawyers, liens, and late fees. The entire crisis, the panic, the desperate pleas for my home, it was all an act, a performance where my only role was to be the funding. The deepest cuts aren't made with knives. They're made with chosen lies and emotional blackmail. The fallout was theirs alone. They now live in a small rental apartment with Jake. The family dynasty, built on favoritism and guilt, collapsed under its own weight. I stood on our new balcony one evening looking at a different mountain range. David came out, looking nervous. He got down on one knee. He didn't ask me to give anything up. He asked me to build something new, something that was truly ours together. I said yes. Later, I placed a new ornament on our shelf, a small crystal fox, not a relic of a painful past, but a promise for a chosen future. Family isn't a life sentence written in blood. It's a choice, etched in respect and healthy boundaries. I finally chose my peace, but it makes me wonder, and I want to ask you, where is your line? How much of your own security, your own peace, are you expected to sacrifice for the word family? What's the one thing they could ask for that would make you say no without hesitation? I genuinely want to know. Drop your story or your thoughts in the comments below. If this journey of setting boundaries and rebuilding your life resonates with you, please consider supporting this channel. Hit that like button and subscribe this channel. We share real, powerful stories about cutting toxic ties, finding resilience, and reclaiming your story every week. Thanks for listening and for being here.